Book 1, Bazur's Plot. Chapter 30, Part 1. Split crew in the second woods. I woke up when the sun's first beams were rising from the skyline, and I got up quickly to see if Seafarer was still here. Oh, he was gone. The familiar boat was gone. I stared for a long time the place where it was, and I turned to go to eat breakfast. I still wanted to say goodbye to him this morning. I don't know if I will ever see him again. That big Viking. Oh, that is something I cannot now think of. I must concentrate on the task ahead, I told myself. I went to make coffee the same way Jack had done the other day and started to eat my breakfast. I saw Jack scrambling out of the hammock after coffee started to smell. He was clearly a man that ran with food. I smiled at him and waved him closer to eat. Everyone was almost instantly up and eating their breakfast. It was almost no time that we needed to start the day and to go find cursed creatures. We said bye to Tora's group and saw them at their journey to the west. Saw them start their journey to the west. Tara said, "There's more elevation mountains on that side. It is flatter on our path and that is why we have more villages here on the west. Let's go." Flickfingolkins were riding on Morbin's backs and shoulders, depending on if they walked with 2 feet or all 4. Tara was leading the group. I was right behind her, and the elves Sylvessa and Elaven were right behind me. The 2 Morbairn, Stonehide and Garnock, were holding the end. Capritor's, Tico, and the ones assigned to us you could not really see or hear at all. They were ahead, behind, our side, or wherever. You never knew where they silently popped up. Tara turned halfway to me when walking. "Remember to check if something is living. Try to advance your skill so that you can scan surroundings, and if something is suspicious, then we stop." I nodded and started to focus to the task ahead instead of thinking of my surroundings. I had a job to do. It took me a while to concentrate on checking surroundings on the trails left and right. Unlike earlier, when we went to see Seafarer, we did our own bath in the middle of the woods, jungle more likely. Now we took what were clear trails or paths between the villages formed over the years. Some parts were wide as small roads really, and some more narrow. I understood well why we were checking these, since these would have been easy for Bazur to reach villages and get creatures to his army. I stopped abruptly by this one tree at the right side. The elves bumped into me since I gave no warning. There was a lot of sorries. I did not really pay attention to that. I stared at the tree. I checked. Yes, it was living, but there was something odd about it. I looked at Tara. "Hey, that tree is a creature, but there's something odd about it. It is alive, but it's dying." Tara looked at me. "Okay, so you don't sense anything bad about it. Remember the black stones in the caves?" I closed my eyes and remembered how uncomfortable a feeling that was, and replied, "No, this is suffering, this creature. I don't know if we are too late." The whole group was super close to me now and heard what was said. Morbairn Stonehide said, "Well, awaken it. I'm right behind you to protect us, and if the creature needs to be supported, or if it doesn't have any strength, or if it's too weak." I did the spell, and I continued to do 3 small rocks beside it and 1 tree stump. Morbairn Stonehide was supporting what looked like a very old man who was barely breathing, and the other 4 were different light creatures that I have ever seen. There was something odd about this. All our crew were very serious and tried to give all of them remedies. I asked, "What's wrong?" Tara said quickly, "Nothing's wrong. We just did not think we would find them. This is White Goddess's old dad. or that's what we call him, Papa Goddess. Very informal. I don't really know if goddesses are born or not, but that is what we call him. He's in really bad shape. The tree stump was his loyal servant, and those 3 other creatures are light beings that are from White Goddess Castle. You did very good, Sarah. We need to get them back to the castle as soon as we can, but we need to get them stable first. Tiko, she called with a quiet whisper to the woods. Tiko showed up in a second. Look what Sarah uncovered. Tiko took a sharp breath and while looking where Tara was pointing. Wow, we need to get word to the castle. I know Morberns could take them all, but I'm not sure if he can take the trip. He does not look good. The old man opened his eyes and looked at us. Thank you. I hear you and your concern. If I can take a little more of that elixir, I think my guard can help me to stay on Morbern's back. Or you can also tie me to him if he doesn't mind, Stonehide said immediately. I don't mind if you are tied to me, sir. It is an honor to help you to return home. Tara, Tiko, and Morbern started to have a quick discussion while me and the elf ladies, Sylvester and Eloven, kept giving remedies to all 5. It seemed like they were really in bad shape. Maybe because they were light beings and reacted differently, or maybe because they had been cursed for so long. Underground elf medicine was anyway super effective, and all of them started to come around a little bit better. It was decided that they would go directly to drop them off to the castle. The first thought from Tara and Tiko was that Tiko and Capritors would go there and then get proper transport for them to here. But that would slow us down and delay the transport for Papa Goddess. And the rest of them looked a little bit better than Papa. They were much younger though. Papa Goddess was tied to Stonehide just in case, and it allowed Stonehide to run as fast as he could without minding if he was able to stay on. His guard was behind him, making sure that with his body that seemed almost recovered now, that Papa would be good and safe. Garnock took the other 3 light beings. That left us vulnerable. We had 5 Capritors, including Tiko, with us, and 3 of them would go on this transport to ensure safety for Papa Goddess. Flickfin Gulkins would stay, so they took scouting as a job above us flying low, while 2 Capritors took further away scouting. It was clear to everyone that this was now a tense situation. We were splitting our group to really thin now, and yesterday there were some bizarre lights and noises coming from Bazur. I reminded myself that we are still in Second Woods. This is fairly safe area, and said to them, be safe. We should be just fine here. We continue on the task and have more creatures to transport once you are back. I was smiling. That seemed to help the spirits of the group. Morburn skidded on their way, and the Capritors obviously were nowhere to be seen. They were so fast and silent. Felt like if they wanted, they would never be seen by us. I said to Tara and others, let's have a jar of fairy nectar and small snack. Capritors, you two, come a quick bite. Gulkins, could you do scouting while they have a quick bite? But no squeaks, please, if you can. That was the reason why we had asked them to be traveling on Morbear's back, since squeaking came so naturally that they were having a hard time being quiet. Capritors appeared so quickly in front of me that I almost spilled a jug of nectar. I quickly handed it over. Here, Tara is pulling out your snacks right now. I handed over a second jug to another Capritor. The rest of us took our snacks from Tara too, and we had a big jugs of nectar for all of us. It was refreshing. I said to them, Papa Goddess looked very fragile. I hope he regains his strength at his home. Others nodded. Tara said, "It is a miracle, really, that we found him. It was thought he was killed by Bazur. Since of his age, the curse must be harder on him. Or maybe since he is some kind of god, he actually remembers being under, and that also weakened him. He always has been physically like 20-year-old, even though he's always has been white-haired and clearly old." We finished our snacks and continued our journey to a nearby abandoned village. Capritors had left a long time ago. I had one flick-fin Gulkin on my shoulder resting for a moment before he took off to scout again, and Tara had another. They did also have a snack, if you wonder. We arrived at what looked like a small town clearing. Amazing mushrooms and tree trunk houses were left and right. There were maybe 20 houses altogether visible. Tara said, "Okay, this is first of the 3 villages. Let's check. I assume this is empty, but one never knows. You check, Sarah, and we keep guard and be out of your way." I nodded and started going to the couple of houses first, on the left and then right, so we would not need to come back to the beginning of the village. I also checked outside houses or anything really in between. They were such lovely houses. I did not know what kind of creature tribe did use to live here, but it looked an amazing place to live. The houses were quite big too. I could easily stand in them, and any of them would be good houses for me. The search came empty house after house. I also walked behind the houses to see if anyone had been cursed behind there, but nothing. It took about half an hour. If there is time here in Myria, I don't know. Do we have time here in Myria? I was wondering myself. "Nothing," I said. "Nothing," Sylvessa said. "That is okay. It was expected. Tara, onwards to the next trail," and we continued the walk. We did not expect Capritors and Moorburns to return any time soon, since they had a long way to go to the goddess castle. I kept looking at the trail left and right. It was getting easier to see which one could be a living creature, and I was getting better at this magic or viewing, whatever should I call this. It was like just by looking at that object, I could tell immediately and surely if that was cursed creature. I felt so different from a normal tree that would be still living, but the cursed one was feeling different than that. And here in Myria, I'm sure the trees were stronger than at home on Earth. I slowed down. Something was there on the left. There was a wider area in the trail, and there were some rocks and what seemed to be tree logs. I slowed down and others followed. We have few here. These don't look big, so I think they are smaller creatures. Let me uncurse them, but there will be multiple. Others got ready behind me with remedy bottles. I started uncursing. We ended up what looked like 6 elves and about a dozen fairies. I wonder how that happened. I took a remedy bottle from my pouch too and started helping to revive them. Tara looked around and said, "We are more successful than we thought. We are running low on transport options. Sylvessa, do you know the secret elf tunnel?" Sylvessa nodded. "Yes, Arnor shared that with me, so I can take elves for transport. I would need 1 Capritor, but there is one place very close here, so only like 10 minutes. Tara nodded. "Okay, you go right away and we stay right here." 11 stayed helping with the fairies. Fairies really did not awaken so well after cursing. They seemed to take a long time to recover. Tara asked to see the last Capritor, we had to see the last capritor we had, and he appeared. Are you able to ask more help for us from your tribe? Could couple more to help? This is getting to be a lot for us now. He nodded, and he did actually speak. I go back scouting. Help is coming. I don't really know how they communicate with their tribe, but I had no doubt in my mind that help was coming. All capritors were so handsome or beautiful. The women were so toned, and they had all super long shiny hair. Such a beautiful creatures. While waiting Sylvester to return with capritor and getting more capritors to help, we continued to help fairies. They were all calm, but they were hurting and still stunned. I think the curse just did not suit them. Thankfully, the underground elves' remedy was wonder help. Everyone seemed to feel much better afterwards, even still in the recovering state. I asked Tara. How are we going to continue? Fairies are not heavy, but Flickfingulkings can't transport them in this shape. They are definitely not ready to fly on their own. And I remember you said that we cannot transport them with elves in the tunnels, since the underground will make them sick or even kill them. Tara replied, yes, just was thinking about it. We need to take them to our meeting point with Group 1 and transport them tomorrow only. I hope Capritor help will come, so we could possibly have one carrying all the dozen of them to our next meeting point. We still have 2 villages left. Just when she stopped talking, 2 capritors appeared in front of us. Gosh, they were speedy and quiet. Tara explained the situation. They were happy and stunned about Papa Goddess and the light creatures. Also, they kept looking at the fairies that were still half out on the ground, resting while Elowen was going back and forth, trying to help them. Capritor spoke. It is only you now, Tara replied. Yes, Sylvester is out of one of your pack capritors, and they will be back in a couple of minutes. They took some elves to the tunnels. But we desperately need help scouting, and also we would need help to transport these fairies to our meeting point, which is on the north end of the second woods, where we meet the rest of the crew. Hopefully also more bairns and 3 capritors return soon from transporting Papa Goddess and those to the castle. The new capritors spoke together for a while. They were quite young and fat-looking capritors. She was a silvery coloring, almost white, so beautiful that I could hardly take my eyes out of her, and she was beautiful, and he was a beautiful chocolate brown. His skin was all dark and shiny like milk chocolate. She Capritor spoke again. My name is Capriena, and he is Caprano. We understand. I called 2 more from our back to do scouting. We hear Bazur probably suspects that something is up, since there is more and more darkness, noises, banging, all kind of things going on the 6 woods. And he's just getting ready to do attack or something. It is better to have a good scout coverage for this army in regards of his army scouts. They are also scouting in the woods for new army members and taking them back to be cursed. I felt creeps crawling on my back because of her words. But at the same time, I realized that the capritor, other than Tico, was talking to us, and I bowed to show respect. Oh, and earlier that other scout capritor spoke with us too. Wow. Capriena noticed my puzzlement and guessed right what I was thinking and said, yes, we're now talking. And she was smiling in a twinkle in her eye. The rescue mission has earned our respect. You are doing good job. She meant the words. She meant the words to everyone present. Thank you from all of us, I said and bowed again. Capriana spoke again. Caprano will now go and start scouting. Ah, here comes Maronitor. She addressed Capritor, who was leading Sylvessa back from dropping elves. They talked quickly in their language, and I saw Caprano and Maronitor disappear. Capriano talked to us again. You help the fairies on my back. I think one of you elves must be there also, to helping them stay on. Some of them still look quite limp. We looked at a few of them looking more like fairy noodles. Elovan said, I can come. I'm smaller and lighter. This was all the respect to the Capritors. Capritors were not to be considered at any point like transport means. They were helping us with kindness. Capriana nodded. Tara and I helped them on since we were taller than Sylvessa, and Tara said, Okay, shall we continue? I'm really hoping now that we don't gather too many more, but if we do, we will need to get a word to Group 1 to meet us here instead. Let's see how this goes. We kept walking. Capriana followed us, and Tara led again. I was grateful that I had learned to do so effortlessly the checking of the living things. We walked without stopping to the next village. This was a bigger village, maybe a double of the houses, and I said to Tara, why don't you all go to the other end and have lunch too, and Capritors too? I know you're still scouting and making sure I'm safe. And I will go over the houses and behinds of the houses. And I'll have my lunch then when I'm ready to come. This way you can revive the fairies and Capriana does not have to carry them. Everyone nodded, and I saw that one of the Capritors appeared behind me some ways. I guess Capriana had called him to watch my back. That made me feel so safe and happy. I started to go over the houses. These houses were a little smaller, and some of them looked like hobbit houses that were going halfway underground too. I had to duck a little when going into houses. Clearly a smaller creature village, this one. I kept checking houses, and thankfully, since my skills had developed so well, I just walked through and I could tell if there was or wasn't anything. About midway, I stepped into one house there. The chair in front of the fireplace, that was a living one. I took the chair outside and signed to Sylvessa. She came running with one of the Capritor on her heels. I uncursed the creature, and it was looking some kind of elf look-alike, but taller. Anyway, Sylvessa took over with Capritor, so I continued on my checking. I went back to the same house to see that I did not miss anyone. It was clear. I continued to the rest of the houses. The last house on the right, when I was walking to it, it felt different. I was very close to the others and asked where they were camped. And I asked Tara to join me. She got up and asked, Why? What do you sense? I looked at it. It's a shimmering glitter. I don't think it's evil or anything. I'm just not sure what to think. Tara perked up. Shimmering glitter, you say? The way she said was very tight and strained, and I looked at her. Yes, why? Tara looked at me intensively. My cousin, Vespera, disappeared. Is the color purple? Yes, I replied, without looking at the house. It is. Let's go then, Tara looked at me and said. I have remedy, so let's go. I really hope it is Vespera. We went to the small house. It had few chairs and a table there, and what looked like a daybed. I walked straight in front of the daybed and started chant the spell. Very quickly the daybed changed to a girl that was purple glitter really, laying there on the floor. But this one was different. She looked like she had put a good fight first, and she was all bruised and hurt. Tara yelled, Vespera, it is you. Here, take the remedy. She gave Vespera remedy, but she was totally out of it. She dropped it on her lips few times. I checked the rest of the house, and it was clear. I went to the other side of Vespera. Let's take her outside. Maybe Elavan and Sylvessa have something else to give her additionally. Also, those wounds need help. We carried her out. Tara looked at me. You eat. You need your energy. We will see what we can do for Vespera. I was doubting for a moment her words, but I did obey. I was starving, and I knew that if my energy dropped too much, I would not be useful for anyone. I sat down and I started to eat and drink. I saw how Sylvessa and Elaven were tending on Vespera, and she started to move a little. She opened her eyes and saw Tara, and she said in whisper, Tara, thank God you found me. And she fell back to sleep. Well, I'm not sure if she was sleeping or out of it, but thankfully she seemed to react to healing. I could not believe it was just lunchtime and we had so many things happening already. After I finished eating, I asked Tara, what are we gonna do? Tara asked Capriena, do you think you could carry Vespera to our evening place if I carry the fairies? Good news is that elf creature seems to be quite all right, and he could walk with us to the next meeting point. Morbearns are not back yet, so there's no muscle help. Elaven said, I could take few fairies too. They're not heavy. I said, I could take some too. Capriena replied, no, Tara is right. You need your energy to do recognition and uncursing. I can see how much better you feel after the rest and food. So we add nothing to your energy takers. Everyone nodded. It took a while to tie the Vespera on Capriena's back. Sylvessa pulled out what looked like an open-mouthed backpack woven from long leaves. Tara saw me looking, and she nodded toward Sylvessa. She's handy, huh? I replied, wow, you did this just now? Sylvessa blushed and helped to put fairies in the basket backpack. She had also 2 smaller ones for herself and Elaven. They both carried 2 fairies each. The male elf was in between Sylvessa and Elaven walking. He did not talk, only nodded when asked questions. So we gave him just more remedy and let him be for now. At least he was able to walk himself. And we were off again. I recalled that there was one more village left before reaching to the north of the second woods.